It's got to be a crazy feeling. I mean, your dad was telling me about it when he first got him replaced. Like it's like this, like almost like you're floating.
When your knees get replaced?
That's what he felt like.
You're floating around.
Because you're like detached, you know what I mean? Like you've got something.
There's no feeling there.
Yeah.
I remember he sent me a text. He's like, because they put like a nerve block in, so I guess it like essentially paralyzes you, like you can't feel anything from the waist down. And he's like, dude, I don't know how you do this on a daily basis, but he's like, holy crap, this is insane. But no, it's wild the stuff that they can do to you now. Just put plastic in.
That's why it's good to stay limber.
Yeah.
Soon they'll put chips in your head, and like you'll have a robotic leg or something.
I'm down for the Neuralink.
You down for it?
Guys. I'm down for it.
All right, why are you down for it?
I don't know if I'm down for the Neuralink.
I don't know, but you guys are also more paralyzed,
right? Yeah, exactly. I know.
You guys are like, true. I'm walking all right.
That's
Me,
true.
if Elon's like, hey, you might be able to walk, I'd be like, all right, sign me up. Just cut right into my head right now. We'll figure it out.
You're in a different boat for sure.
I know, but he's saying some out of pocket stuff about that thing too. He's like, we probably could make you know everything. Like, just intelligence, like, actually just be able to come up with stuff like that, like, essentially with AI and stuff. I couldn't even imagine having ChatGPT as a brain. That'd have to get annoying.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be friends with that guy.
No.
You don't want to be friends with ChatGPT.
No, they're not in the group chat.
No. Well, actually, it's
yeah, they just kind of show
not
up.
it.
Constantly correcting you.
Yeah.
That thing's fascinating. But just we already have all the information. There'd be no emotion behind it though.
No.
It would just be like, here's what it is.
Yeah. I like the various ways that we can get information too, you know. I like that everybody has their own little spin on, you know, part of their opinion on how things work. You know, it's not always exactly 100% correct.
It's gonna be wrong.
But yeah, it's going to be wrong, but it's like just they're close enough, you know, and that's what I like about it. Everybody's got their own little spin. Yeah, it's
like playing telephone. You tell one person one thing, and then you just keep on going down the line, and then by the end of it, you're just completely different thing.
That game is a great illustration of communication and how it is like way harder than you would think it should be.
Yeah.
You know, you're like you said, just having 5 people in a line, and you tell the first person by the third person it's going to be a little different.
Yep.
That's like kind of the catch 22 of like social media today, where it's you can, I guess, pick apart what anyone says in like little 15-30 second clips, but unless you watched like the entire 10-minute or 20-minute or hour-long interview, you have no idea what this person was really talking about. You have zero context. So it's like to take that clip and then just throw it out there. Now you have this narrative on that person just based upon that thing. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and that's like the way everybody wants to consume content now, is like short form. You know, just
TikTok.
Welcome to Our Friends, guys. How are you?
We're rolling.
Yeah.
I thought I saw some red back there. I like the style. Just like start
roll
chatting
into it,
and then just. Doop.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Which we do that sometimes. Sometimes we'll do a little intro.
The conversation was great. We were talking.
I think so.
Yeah. I wish we were rolling.
And then I just
like
screwed it up. I had to get it back into show business.
That's all right.
Touching back on the long form stuff, you know, I to me that's why, you know, and Joe Rogan was kind of at the forefront of that.
Yeah,
his podcasts are 3 hours.
Yeah,
but people want to hear it. They want to hear all the context because it's been lacking. From all this short form stuff. So. There's different worlds, I feel now.
Well, and not only that, but he mentions this a lot, where it's you get on your primary news stations, and it's still they only have 30 minutes really like per show to talk about stuff, but they have to cover everything. So when they have a person on for an interview, they really got like 5 minutes with you until they go to a commercial break, and then it's like you can really only talk about so much. You have to hit the hot points, go, and then, I mean, things can get messed up. But when you sit down for 3 hours and really,
a long time.
really dig into what this person is all about, For instance, like I thought Bernie Sanders was the worst person ever for the longest time. And I sat down and listened to his whole podcast with Rogan. I'm like, he's out there, but it's like he has some really great points. I think that he's like a decent person. I think that he means well. I think he means everything that he says, and he truly thinks that it's a positive thing for the world. But when you get him in front of a camera on CNN or Fox, especially Fox hated him, obviously. But when you see these little clips, it's hard to get an idea of who the person actually is, which is why we do this. This is really important.
Yeah.
Really important. We get to know you, Sam.
It's gonna happen.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into music. When did it all start for you? How old were you?
Many years ago, 10 years old that was the age where I started playing the drums. And I had been begging my parents for 2 years before they got me a drum set. I was, come on, like, please get me a drum set, right? Finally got me a little starter kit and took lessons for 6 years. That was kind of the caveat. They said, if we're going to get you a drum set, you are going to take weekly lessons and you're going to practice. So my parents would not force me, but they were like, have you practiced today? When was the last time you practiced? Through all those years I was taking lessons, and that was great. It allowed me to hone my skills and become an expressive musician. So that's where it all started.
Where'd you take lessons? Like, where'd you grow up?
In North Jersey.
Okay, cool.
And I took lessons with Larry Silverman, and an excellent. He was the director of the Leonia High School, like, music department, but was also a phenomenal drummer. Mainly playing in like jazz situations and pit orchestras for musicals. So like the Guys and Dolls and that kind of thing. The Sound of Music.
Yeah. I didn't take any formal drum lessons. I started playing probably when I was around 13, and I guess the closest to like a drum teacher was Joel Smales, who's the band director at Binghamton High School, and same kind of idea, like heavy jazz, pit drummer. I never played in the pit for a musical. Would be fun though. I think it's
so fun.
Yeah.
You feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself, right? You've got the actors on stage, and you've got many musicians. Well, depending on the size of the pit,
right?
But it's a multifaceted, multimedia production as opposed to just playling songs. That's something it's really exciting about it.
There's a lot of attention to detail, hitting those points, hitting the right mark.
Yeah. How's your reading?
There is no reading.
What? Okay, I was curious.
I mean, there was a little bit when I was playing in wind ensemble and doing more percussion, but I've definitely fallen out of it. I would like to get down with a book and get back into it, because that's a whole nother level, I respect the crap out of that, because it's super.
I bought into the fact that it's such a lazy argument too. I feel horrible that I did this, but I always looked at it as, if you read music, you're going to turn into a robot, and you're not going to play with any feel and all that. And it's the biggest load of crap. It's just an excuse not to learn theory, I think, or anything like that. So it's just a real easy excuse to go, oh no, you don't have to learn this really important skill. So it really, I think, limited me, and I just haven't been able to get back into it. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
I got you, man.
And then
I got you. Just let me know. Yeah.
But no, I mean, like tab and stuff was important for me to learn, because other than that, I wouldn't learn anything at all.
Right.
At all. How did your your instructor mainly being in jazz, how did that influence your playing? It's like my guitar teacher was, Taze was into jazz, but I also really liked blues. And then I started getting lessons from Brian, and Brian was mainly a blues guitar player, and I fell in love with it. And that is like what I played. That's still to this day what I love playing. How did you form and kind of mold what you were into, what your voice was behind the kit?
Excellent question. That's the best question. That's so good. Because there's so many different ways to learn how to play instruments, right? And it's like, there's this thing, and do this course and that course. Here's what I did. Started with Larry started me with the rudiments: double stroke roll, 5-stroke roll, 7-stroke roll, 9-stroke roll, and then there were the roughs, 3, 4, 5. So all the rudiments, paradiddles, right? For the first 15 minutes of every lesson, that's what we did. And then we started the reading. There's a couple of method books for snare drum. And in terms of style, so right, you're getting at how did that shape my style? So it was the drum set books. Mainly we would do like a jazz and a rock. Like we'd have the jazz book and the rock book. And between those two genres, jazz and rock, that really allowed me to expand into, if I wanted to do like a little bit of Latin stuff, I could. But jazz and rock were like kind of the main and I guess most popular, at least in the United States. Jazz and rock it's changing now. But
I don't know. I feel like jazz and rock, that covers so many bases. That covers so many bases. And you hear some of the best blues guitar players, they all have elements of jazz.
Right,
Chris
jazz
Kane,
is all the roots, man.
Yeah.
Chris Kane has
But there's rock in that too. There's
Yeah.
rock in that as well. So yeah, those really covered it. And then just
very cool.
A lot of listening. Really, you play based, at least in the formative years, a lot of how I learned to play was what I was consuming.
Yeah, what were you listening to during that time?
Mainly a lot of drum solos, actually. Like I was like Dennis Chambers drum solo, Steve Gadd drum solo, Bill Ward drum solo, Art Blakey drum solo. I was just fascinated by creating all these rhythms with no other instruments, just drums.
Was it like some of those like workshop videos?
Yeah, some of those.
Yeah.
What's his name? I can't remember his name, but yeah, sort of the Hudson Music would do a lot of those.
Yeah, I remember the drummer from Grand Funk Railroad doing like a whole video like that, and it was like probably like the late 80s, early 90s type videos.
A lot of the festivals, like Modern Drummer Festival, we watch those. And then just Pink Floyd was like the first actual like album that I listened to, and that happened in 8th grade.
So Nick Mason was a huge influence on you.
Oh, I like his solo stuff too.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I love his, aside from music, he has had one of the craziest car collections. Unbelievable. He went on Top Gear, was one of my favorite shows to watch in England, and he came on there. They were talking a little bit about how he has like a Ferrari Enzo, which are, I don't know, worth millions now. Millions. I think he bought, at the time, it was like the most expensive car ever, which was a Ferrari something 250 GTO, whatever. It was like $25 million or something like that. But that is my little Nick Mason story, I guess.
There you go.
This is my ADHD.
He loves cars.
That's your Nick Mason facts.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fun fact of the day. So tell me about his solo stuff. Was it mainly was it just drums, kind of like what you were talking about?
The drum solos you talk about, like just me listening to the drum solos and all that?
Well, his solo work. I haven't gotten into his solo work at all.
So I'm not as, I just remember liking some of his solo stuff. I couldn't recall.
Gotcha.
Exactly. It's been a while since I've revisited it.
Yeah, see, like we grew up in such a digital age, so when I was playing drums, I was watching a lot of stuff on YouTube. YouTube was around when I started playing, so I'd watch a lot of different drum covers. Like there was this one drummer, like Ricky Ficcarelli, I believe his name was, and I always liked watching his stuff. And then old live performances of The Who, love Keith Moon, and John Bonham, and just watching them tear up kits.
Mm-hmm.
As also, speaking of like the jazz, rock, Latin, John Densmore from The Doors. There was a couple videos out there of The Doors talking about their influence on their songs from like their self-titled album, and John Densmore would get in and talk about like some of the beats, like Break On Through to the Other Side being like a bossa nova beat, but then like adding a little bit of more rock to it, which is such a groovy beat, because you wouldn't expect that in rock and roll.
That's interesting. Have your boy Neil Peart? He was.
Yeah.
You showed me a video of him. He had like some kind of hat on. He was just playing jazz, and he like flipped his style back around.
Yeah.
What was that video? What was he playing with? That was some jazz thing.
He had a lot of influence from Buddy Rich, so he would do full on like tributes, and he would play on like it was still a pretty big kit. It wasn't as small as Buddy Rich, but it wasn't as big as like the Rush kit. And yeah, he would play, behind like an orchestra.
We're looking at a Rush poster right here. It's just more drums than I've ever seen in my entire life. Alex Lifeson has a double neck guitar, and they're just
everything's
so
just
extra.
extreme. Yeah, it's super.
he has a high watt full stack amplifier with 2 heads on it.
So sick. That reminds me of Neil Peart when he was doing the tributes to Buddy Rich. There's this. He would play with the big band. There's a couple of videos of him playing with the Buddy Rich big band, and doing stuff. And
that's what I meant. Not like an orchestra, big band. Yeah.
Okay,
so you've
cool,
got
cool.
you got all the horns and everything going on.
It's funny that you mentioned the us growing up in the digital age. Now, was that a huge impact on the way that you learned or shaped anything?
By the time that I was getting into like the YouTube drumming, and Drumeo has kind of cornered the market
for sure.
That dude's pretty brilliant. Yeah, but it was mainly just reading through books. That was where I learned most of my skills, and then again the style. That was just from listening to songs and playing in bands and stuff. But it was really like practicing reading those books that gives you the tools, and then I could apply the tools to whatever I heard.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I think how the other method, which is you love a band or you love a song and you want to just play to that song, not necessarily developing the tools to be able to just apply anywhere. So it's just a different method. I'm very grateful that I was able to learn gain the tools, and then use my musical mind and apply the tools to whatever. Like, he's doing that, or okay, like I know what he's doing. I just got to practice it.
Yeah, and that's just years and years and years of experience. It's funny, like you can't be that much older than us, but there's such a disconnect. I think between like the way that we learn now and how it was just before, YouTube popped up, and you literally could just type it in and you could have someone right in front of you teaching you exactly what it is, but to the detriment of, learning what the actual tool is. And John Mayer even said this in an interview where he's like, if you hear something and you like it, find out why you like it. Find out the root of what it is. So if there's a cool lick or something in a solo that you hear, learn the scale, and then learn that scale in all the keys. Learn all the notes on it. Like, you really have to dig deep. But I do think it's a detriment to be able to just type in how to play Eruption, and then you can learn Eruption if you sit there and play it 2 million times, but you don't know why Eddie Van Halen's doing it the way he's doing it, or why it sounds good.
It's a good point. It's like, teach a man to fish versus however that's saying.
Yeah, I mean it's a similar concept. Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because then you hear it and you know where to go. Especially with guitar playing, it's so important to know keys, and that way you could just fit in wherever you need to fit in, and just by listening to it, versus like, oh no, this isn't the song I know.
I think too, if there's any guitar players, that buy a baritone guitar, and then just it forces you, if you want to play with other people, it forces you to have to learn a whole new thing. If you're a guitar player, you can play a baritone guitar. You just have to learn how to play it in a different spot. And it also forces you how to play, play different chords, because you have to kind of choose different shapes to achieve the same sound, because you have to sound similar. But anyways, that was one of the cool things I didn't expect when I got a baritone guitar that I would have to learn, because everything's like 2 steps down, 3 steps down, something like that.
Baritone.
It's super cool though. I mean, there is nothing like hitting an E chord, a B chord on a baritone guitar. It just sounds so full. It's very cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say that must sound really rich and deep, and
it's a whole different sound. I got into Joey Landreth. I don't know if you've heard that name, but he's a tremendous slide guitar player. I'm just unbelievable musician, but he takes his guitar, puts the heaviest strings on it, and then tunes everything down to open C, which is just such a weird key to play in, and it gives him such a signature sound because no one's doing it. It's so interesting the way you can achieve individuality amongst guitar players, and not knowing how do you do that with drums. How do you find your own voice and not sound like other people?
That's another $1 million question right there.
Mm-hmm.
How do you develop your own sound? For me, it was actually, if I reflect on it, not having access to tons of lessons and stuff was helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean is I was able to just be focused on interpreting the reading that I was doing from the rock and jazz books, and then just interpreting them in whatever felt right for my body, and not looking at like, how is this person doing it? How's this person doing it? I'd watch the drum solos to get ideas. A lot of free play, just taking maybe an hour and just experimenting on the kit. There's always gonna be pieces from someone else, right? But there are some nuances that you can build. But yeah, kind of not getting caught up in so much information, and just sit down at the kit and play. Just take a drum solo for an hour, see if you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe you stumble upon something that you really like. That's a really tough one.
I think I asked Randy McStein a similar question, where it's at that time I instilled to this day, I'm trying to diversify the amount of people I listen to. And Geddy Lee actually said it in an interview once, where it's like, yes, we're all influenced by so many different people, but the way you become an individual is to take all those little pieces and make it something into your own, which is, again, that's that $1 million question on how you do so.
Diversifying is, like you said, taking things that you like from different places. Musical theater really had a major impact on my drumming and my touch and my feel. When you're playing with an ensemble cast, right? There's a chorus of 30 people. You're gonna play differently, and so I think a lot of that, growing up and doing the musical theater stuff, really.
Talk about fitting into a mix. I mean, when you got 30 people that are in the same room, it's got to be difficult. Maybe not so much for drums, but I could imagine, I don't know that, but it could be any instrument. I'd imagine that'd be a lot harder.
Well, the one thing that would sometimes worry me is there was a couple times I played the drums with like the orchestra, and it was just me on the kit, but there were several people playing the violin and playing the same thing, and several people playing like the clarinet, playing the same thing, playing the same pieces. So if one of them messed up, it could blend in a little bit. Where if I mess up, there's no saving
all
me.
the pressure there.
Yeah, so that would sometimes like get in my head a little bit.
You hear a thud, just one dude on stage making the thuds.
Yeah, I was like, nobody else hit that cymbal. Nobody else hit that cymbal off. You know, it's like,
that's a great point, though. I mean, percussion is just susceptible to that in an orchestra setting.
Yeah.
Like the triangle player, if he hits the triangle at the wrong part, like, you're gonna know.
Yeah. Then you just look goofy. You just look goofy as hell up there with this. It's already you already look goofy playing the triangle. but then to mess up,
Yeah.
you're just like, oh.
You ever try rolling on a triangle? That shit's hard, man.
Right, because that's a lot of pressure. You got to get the right sustain and the right verb. You got to cut off at the right point.
Yeah, precision. I think that that might even open it up a bit with like developing your own style, right? Maybe it's not just about the notes, right? It's about like, are you a precise player? Are you a loud player? Are you a soft player? Do you play with a wide dynamic range? Like these are all, if you were playing a video game, you could choose your attributes, right? Mm-hmm. But you could only have a certain amount of each attribute, right? So perhaps that's what separates you, is just allowing your character to come through.
Yeah.
And if you are like, I know I like to be on time for things, right? Very prompt.
Yeah.
And I feel like that shows in my playing, where if I'm switching to triplets, that those triplets are going to fit very nicely into maybe not exactly, but they're going to fit very nicely into whatever it is. And if I'm switching between eighth notes and triplets, you're going to know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So precision. So perhaps that's a characteristic of my playing, is being precise.
Right.
And perhaps perhaps you can identify what it is in your playing. How would you describe your playing?
I would say like sensitive.
Sensitive.
Yeah, sensitivity. I'm just trying to be as aware as possible. I don't typically like to play a lot of fills, but if it calls for it, I will,
You and Kid Best?
Yeah.
Right. Like the difference between your playing and Caviar and Kid Best, it's unbelievable. You're really able to just dig in with Kid.
So versatility.
Yeah, versatility. And just being able to, I always, for my playing and just the people I've played with, just having an awareness of what the singer is doing, and playing dynamically around the singer. So getting lower volume during like the verses.
Real good at that.
And then start bringing it up a little bit into the choruses, and then finding those openings where you can really like bring up the volume without pushing the vocalist to have to go so loud, That's how you get the next gig.
Well, it's it's one thing that I have such empathy for drummers, because it's like if you're a hard hitter, you really got to know how to pull that back, and I feel like so many people don't know, especially in a bar setting. Yeah. It's like
it's always too loud.
It's always too loud. It's always too loud, and it is interesting.
No good acoustics in there.
Yeah, it's like you can't quite open up and be yourself as a drummer inside of a bar. Like that, you're never going to get to showcase your full talent and how much you're able to do. But if you are a drummer and you hear someone playing at a perfect volume, like you said, dialing it back, that's almost how you flex to other drummers, I guess. Yeah. But no, it's I definitely have a lot of empathy for drummers in that sense.
Don't have too much empathy for them.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, one thing like with a drummer's voice and sound is tuning. I mean, yes, you can tune to a dial, but not every drummer is going to have the same size toms and the same size kick, and they're all going to tune their drums a little bit differently. Some want a little bit more of like a higher pitched tom. Some want those like bigger, fatter, low toms. Same with the snare drum. So I think that's like a big part of the voice, especially snare and cymbals. It's such a big. But even toms too. You can, however you like to have your kit set up.
That blew my mind when you told me about like how you can have drums tuned to the key. Like I think you were saying it was something that Neil did, was for him to play with the melody, he had to have his drums tuned a specific way so he could play
like piano notes.
Exactly.
You can do that.
That blew my mind. I'm like, what? This isn't just a thud?
Yeah.
Like there's actually science behind these things? I thought these were just caveman circles that you hit.
They were. They were for a long time.
Too funny.
Yeah.
And there's so much behind those kits with like the DW collector kits, because it's not just the head tuning, it's like the shells themselves. Like the shells, making sure that they all have a pitch to them, and then matching that to the kit. That's when you get really into the nice custom.
We have too much time now.
Drums.
That's the problem. We're worried about tone woods on guitars, on electric guitars, and
who
needs that? Who needs that?
Well, we were talking about this the other day. I was talking to Jeff, the cellist from Kid Best, and I was like, "Well, how's your son liking the kit?" I told him to just pick up like a little Tama kit. I was like, a couple $100. And he goes, it's whatever. I was like, you got to get some good heads, I said, he's not going to like it if it doesn't sound right. He's going to be like, what the hell? Like, he's like, the kit doesn't, the drums really don't matter too much, but if you tuning them right, even if it's some janky heads, throw a little.
It's funny seeing him set up the kit for Lincoln.
I
came up here one time. He's like, "No, he's got this guy. He's not playing on some Fisher Price." Like, where are you? No.
Fisher Price or Hello
this.
Kitty drum set. Or something.
It's not gonna sound right. He's not gonna like it.
That's too funny.
Get him some K
like,
customs.
Not my son.
Get some K custom splashes for hi hats.
And he's just starting out.
No.
Man, I had
kidding.
I remember having a real starter kit. It was just bare bones.
Oh yeah.
But that was the thing. That was the test.
Yeah.
For
for sure.
you really like it, you'll enjoy the process of learning it as opposed to just like looking cool or like whatever,
I wanted drums so bad, and I finally got a few pieces of drums from a teacher, and it was a set of hi-hats, a ride cymbal and a stand, a floor tom, and a snare drum. And I think a rack tom too, but no kick, so there was like nothing I can do with it really. And I remember going home that day and not knowing how to set up anything, not knowing how to set up the hi-hat at all. And I finally got it figured out, and I would just sit there just like hitting the floor tom and the snare drum and just like just jamming, figuring it out.
Shout out Mr. Allen.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Mr. Allen. Yeah, that was great. Eventually he gave me a kick pedal, and I used that on the floor tom. So I had just like a hi-hat, snare, and floor tom, and do some
That's
basic
kind of what
beats.
you set up for Link, right?
Yeah, that's all he's got. A hi-hat, snare, and a kick.
The beginnings, right?
Yeah, that's all you need.
The fresh, something like it is exciting to pick up anything new.
Yeah.
What was your first like at least mid-range set? Like what was and what was the point at which you decided you're like, okay, now is the time that I need to invest in some proper gear?
Sure, that's another good question. I believe it was a Pearl Export drum set. It was all black, and it was my second kit after but it wasn't. I didn't get that kit until I had been practicing for like 3 years on my starter kit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just rocking the starter kit for a long time. I actually never, I was just, and that goes to show I was just really into the process of learning it, and I wasn't concerned about what I was using. I was just grateful that I had something to play on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then about 3 years later, I was like, okay, I'm allowed to get a new drum set. What? Like that's a thing I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went for the Pearl.
Nice.
And then there were some other kits. The Hip Gig was in there at some point. Yamaha Hip Gig.
What do you use now?
Now I have been using, with Driftwood, I've been using this Gretsch kit, like a 20-inch kick, and what's the Catalina?
Catalina, yep.
Love that thing.
Yeah.
So I've been using that mainly. And then I have a Rogers kit that I'll bust out sometimes. That's about it.
You still have the Mapex kit?
Oh, I do have the Mapex kit. I haven't used it really for gigs though.
Yeah.
I think I used it for like a Gun Poets gig. That was.
Oh,
Why
nice.
is that? Why? What about that kit?
The Mapex one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been really bringing it out to a lot of the gigs, and I guess I'm not as in love with it as I am with the Rogers and the Gretsch. Mapex thing, to me, it's like if I was playing in a prog rock band, then I would bust it out.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to fit into what I've been doing, which is mainly like nuanced and the whole Americana kind of singer-songwriter vibe.
Yeah, it's a big kit.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of toms. I mean, I could do different.
You could drop it down though.
Yeah. I don't know. It just doesn't sing to me in the.
You have
same
hydraulics on there?
Yeah.
I love the hydraulics.
They're fun, dude.
Yeah. They seem like really just like you toss them on and they just they sound right. Yeah,
yeah, they're fat, they're good.
Yeah,
and yeah. Like I said, if it was like a prog rock thing or something like that, I'd probably use that kit.
Yeah, I've got that little Tama pancake kit, and it's got red hydraulics on it, and it just makes them sound
better. That thing's been a godsend, right?
Yeah, it sounds great.
That's dope.
And I take that thing out all winter long.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not doing nothing
It's
heavy.
less stuff to bring around, right?
Yeah, there's no need for it, I don't think.
No, and like you said, at like an open mic too, it makes you have to play differently. It makes you have to think about what you're doing.
Yeah, when we first started doing open mic, I would bring like a real bare bones kit.
Yeah.
You know, it's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And then that way you don't have to worry about somebody getting crazy back there.
Yeah.
You know, somebody's gonna know what they're doing if they're gonna sit behind it.
I think as you learn more in this universe, right? Let's talk about the universe.
Yeah.
As you learn more about it, and you realize you can create and do anything that you really want, and you know, I think you soon learn that if you're confident about it, you can do it. So you don't have to do anything, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a real eye opener, or it was for me. It's like, oh, I don't have to go to college, or I don't have to go to this function because I don't want to, you know? And and I guess applying that to music, you don't have to use a big drum set if you're doing metal. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Right. Or if you're playing jazz, you don't have to use a small set. So it's like erasing all of these things that have been programmed into our minds. And that actually, I think, allows you to stand out. So when you bring that guy, that's your character. That's you. You want to bring that. And no one's going to tell you, like, and if someone does, right? If someone's like, oh, dude, like, what's up with that? It's like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm drumming. This is my shit.
Right.
Why don't you set up the open mic then, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And
That's
powerful.
The way you want to do it.
Right.
It's so powerful. I've just been on this kick lately of like this growth mindset, this way of thinking.
Yeah, you know, that's the way to think. I like that. You know, I've thought so much. You know, when playing grassroots in May, I was like kind of worried about like not having the right kit. You know, and it's like, oh yeah, it wasn't that kit, but it was still like very compact. And I was like, this is not going to look right on the stage. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. It's going to sound good. You know what I mean? I was like, that's all that matters. And, of course, nobody cares. You know what I mean? Nobody cares about that.
That's exactly
And if they do, really, like, fuck you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They're obviously a douche.
Yeah.
It's like what name is written on the headstock of your guitar really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
No.
Especially these cheaper guitars are getting so good. It doesn't matter.
No.
You can play a Squire and what do you call it? Does it?
Yeah, Joe.
Joe does it.
Yeah.
He plays a Squire in a $200 amp, and he sounds phenomenal. He's so good.
Yeah.
It does not matter what it says on the headstock. Exactly. It just makes you, to other guitar players, if you're like making really good sounds happen, and you go up and you look on at his gear and you're like, how? With that gear, like that's incredible. I just spent $3,000 on this, that, and the other thing, and I don't sound that good. So
yeah, it's like to me, it's one of those things, and it's not even just like instrumentation. I think sometimes people get caught up with the show and like having all these things, and then forget about the actual performance itself and the playing.
Sure.
I think both. I mean, I think having those things is important still, but you got to be careful. You know,
right.
You don't want to worry about the lights and then forget where you are in a song or where you need to be playing.
Yeah.
Which I've seen that happen.
What was a time where you saw?
I don't want to talk too much.
I
don't want to get too specific.
You don't need to.
Well, you know what?
Have to.
I guess like and I guess I can't even get too specific about it, because I don't even know some of the people. But like, there's been times where we've had people come to the open mic and have like this elaborate setup, but it's the first time they're running it through our system.
Oh yeah.
So there's no guarantee that it's gonna sound like what you created, in your home studio or maybe at like a different open mic, and it ends up being just like, it's like, man, you should just like,
ooh,
did the acoustic guitar and that would have been good, or, I mean, somebody had some in-ears one time at open mic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For an open
I don't
mic?
know. I must not have been there then. I would have remembered that.
Yeah, somebody threw on some in-ears once, and it was just like, and they were playing super loud. Yeah, and I get it. There's nothing wrong with trying anything out. And like, I would never tell anybody, oh no, you got to take those in-ears out.
Right.
You shouldn't wear those.
Yeah,
like,
clearly he wanted to try it.
Yeah,
but it's like truly, it's. I mean, you can look at it from two different ways too. It's like you can look at it as an opportunity to learn a new thing. Like maybe in-ears is the coolest thing ever with our setup.
Yeah.
But without someone being like, "Hey, I'm gonna bring these in-ears to an open mic," you'd never know.
Right. Different.
Never know.
In-ears blasting everybody out, and everybody's like, "What is going on right now?"
Well, now you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but not too much for like bigger bands, where they're like, where there's like an actual band performing at a show. I don't see that too much, where they've put too much focus into their setup and not their playing.
There's a classic episode of Full House about that.
Yeah,
y'all remember that show, The Full House?
I know
I
Full
remember
House.
that
I didn't really
that
watch
show.
it though.
Okay, it was the Olsen twins and
Was
Danny
it-
Tanner.
Was it the same episode that
Uncle Jesse played the kid.
Uncle Jesse?
Well, yeah. Well, it was Danny. Danny was like trying out for the band.
There was that one. I'm thinking of the one where it was Stephanie and two of her friends. They started a band. They were so concerned about what they were going to wear that they forgot to practice. So they show up to the show, and it's a disaster because they were so focused on how they looked as opposed to... And so the message, of course, being like, fucking practice, man.
Well, again,
like
having that yin yang, because we talk
True.
all the time about how you have to look decent on stage. You have to look, or at least do a look, like like you're a band.
But not spend all of your time on that and then forgetting about the other stuff.
Until you get real good, and then you can just be like, let's just focus on looking wild.
Sweet, yeah. It's like the Bill and Ted thing, where it's like, we need to make an excellent video. Well, we can't make an excellent video if we don't know how to play our instruments.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's why we need Eddie Van Halen to be in our video. But we can't get him in our video unless we know. You know what I mean? It's
That's such a classic. It's so good. It's such a good moment.
Funny.
Yeah, it's like that, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about how you first got into performing out. Like, I guess out, not necessarily in like this orchestra setting or a school setting, but when did you start playing, like, say, a bar gig? When was your first bar gig?
High school.
High school?
In high school, I think it was my senior year. So senior year of high school, the band was called the Eighth C. The album still holds up today.
Yeah?
It's just great.
What kind of music are we talking?
It's fucking great. Singer-songwriter.
Okay.
Very chill. Very heady.
Sick.
Just like acoustic guitar, some electric. Like, I don't know, like, it was good.
Senior in high school pulling that kind of stuff?
Yeah, senior high school.
Usually it's like, where are you? And I'm so like, it's usually stuff like that.
Yeah, the emo kind of thing. No, we were like, we found this guy, recounting all of this here. Ryan was a singer, and he was just really deep guy. Nice. Really in touch with himself. And so writing all these tunes about, connection and finding peace and love and all these things. And we played at the 55 bar, not the 55 bar, 169 bar in New York City. I don't know if it's still there.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we
that's your first
I think that was the
playing
first
out
one.
Experience?
Yeah, with that group, like first legit gig, yeah.
Yeah.
we were in there. We did like the Lion's Den, which now is Sullivan Hall in New York City. We did that a couple of times. And we were able to get all our high school friends out. We ended up having like 250 people come out. It was pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
Remember, we like pre-sold the album.
Dude, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, we could have kept on it, but we all went to college. And
you guys had your stuff in gear. That's such like
we had stuff.
That's next level
and
band stuff.
When was
that's
this?
Really cool.
When this have been?
So this was 2005.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And no one told you to do this.
You know, it's funny. I look back on it because it goes back to the whole. You have to go to college.
Yeah, go to college. You got to drop the band.
Fuck that shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, God, I look back on that and it's, man, you don't have to go. And that's why I said, I think maybe that's why I said that earlier, like realizing these things. But back then, that would have, if we had taken the money that we spent on college and put it into the band and just said like, hey guys, like let's just do this. We very well could have.
I mean, what like from an outside perspective, anyone in their right mind would be like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard anyone say. Why would you even consider doing that? But you're also 17, 18 years old. It's like, if you're going to fall on your face, do it in the next couple years.
Yeah.
Do it in the next couple years.
Yeah.
Find out that didn't work.
Find out.
Yeah, and you're young, you know, you've got the time and you've got the body for it too. You could deal with it because that shit is exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
It is so exhausting, you know.
You gotta stay in shape, right?
You do, yeah.
Fucking athletes, man.
And like even like the party aspect of it, you know, and like keeping up and not getting any sleep. It's rough, so
I can't hang anymore. I can't hang.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I'm 27 years old today. I'm about ready to croak. I'm done. I got like 2 more years in me, most likely. I'm out of here.
No, it's a good point. Like that's another thing. The whole partying thing.
It's a lot.
If you want to but to me, if you seriously want to do the thing, you have to manage that.
Yeah.
You can't be out every night doing that.
Well, it's not like the 80s anymore. It's not like you can really get into like hard drugs and stuff like that. And you
have no idea what they're gonna do. It's like, oh, I've never seen this before. Let me try it. Never heard of.
Yeah, no. Hello, that's fentanyl. These days,
stuff.
Yeah. So
nowadays it's pretty chill.
But I think people are more. You gotta have your shit together now.
You do,
because people aren't gonna put up with that anymore. There's too many bands. There's too many options for people.
Yeah.
Why would they put up with a band that's not having their shit together?
Right. Getting drunk on stage. Yeah. That's
unless you can control it, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny because I think I've seen videos about this before, but it's like bands in the 80s and they're like going out partying, getting hammered and like going nuts, and then it's like bands in the 2020s and they're like doing yoga and journaling,
drinking a coffee on
Sign of the Times. It's so true. So true.
Like most musicians are like pretty sober. A lot of them are. It's like nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it's
that's where the real love, I think, comes through.
Yeah,
if you
absolutely.
really love doing this, you're going to want to do it for as long as you can.
Yes.
Well, think about the level of unbelievable musicians that are out there right now. I mean, if it's told us one thing with this saturated market, is it is forcing people to be unbelievable. Unbelievable singers, songwriters, guitar players are out of control. Like back in the day, it was like Eddie Van Halen was the best thing, Joe Satriani was the best thing in the world, but now you have you can visually see like a 8-year-old kid playing Joe Satriani songs, and you realize Joe Satriani wasn't even that great. I'm sure that kid was out there somewhere playing that stuff, but it's
you're seeing people pop up everywhere,
all over the
that's
place.
the social media thing, though.
Yeah.
See, my theory is that it's always been like that.
It's true. No, that you're 100% correct.
I haven't seen it.
I've oftentimes brought up about how how big would have Michael Jackson become if he was growing up in this.
Yeah.
Where everybody can put
know.
anything out there,
Would he have even been?
Right.
That's my theory with like the musicians that are at the top that have the brand, and that's why the brand is so important now.
So important.
You look at, there's this band called Toad the Wet Sprocket. Remember that band?
No, I don't think I've heard
No,
of
but
them.
I would remember that name. That's
Yeah.
great.
For some reason, there's like a tiny bit of something.
They had a song like,
But
all
I don't know.
I want is to feel this way, to be with you. Some shit like that. Oh, this is their hit. Anyways, they were able to come back, like get back together or reemerge after all these years, and did like a Kickstarter or something, and they raised like 6 figures.
Jeez.
Just because they had such a dedicated fan base.
Yeah.
So there's it's a crazy world now where you can kind of do that.
Well, and you can do productions on your own now. You don't if anything, the comedy world has showed you this, where it is you don't need HBO to back you anymore.
No,
you do not need it. If you have fans and you have a huge social media presence, following, and people who love your stuff, throw a Kickstarter out there. Say, hey, I want to do this thing. I want to shoot this comedy special. I need this much money. I don't have it. Can we raise it? And it's like you get $50,000 together and shoot a comedy special, and then sell that comedy special on your website. And it's like I can't remember his name. Andrew Schultz.
Yeah.
He's the one who did it. He's like,
Yeah.
I think it was Netflix telling him that he couldn't, or they had
There was
to
a
edit
joke
some
that
stuff
he
out.
couldn't
Yeah.
do.
And he's like, no. And he bought it, spent his entire life savings to buy it from Netflix because it was such a production, and sold it himself. And he said he made like something like 5 or 6 times more money than he would have made from Netflix.
Money.
Like, you do not need to have a big brand backing you anymore, a big label. It's very cool.
True.
Very cool.
But
that's why Michael Jackson was as big as he was. He had these crazy backers who could
that's true. Yeah.
Spend
His family was connected.
Oh yeah.
You know, and
gotta
in front of
connect.
people.
That's really a lot of it.
Yeah.
It is
finding those connections, and
that's like the only, to me, that's like the only reason to like hang anymore. You know, is it's getting to meet new people. You know, because we lose so much of that now. You know, especially like playing shows all the time. There's just never a chance to get to talk to people.
And then when you're drinking,
Yeah.
after that, it's like you're drinking. It's
that.
like you don't remember this person's name. You've been drinking the entire time.
another good reason to kick the drinks.
Exactly.
I haven't been drinking for like the past two almost 3 months now at this point, and I'm just like I remember people's names now, which is weird. Like usually, how many times would I be like, "Hey Moses, what was that person's name?
Yeah,
what was that
all the
person's
time.
name?"
Yeah.
And now it's not as much, but I think that's one thing that's, kicking drinking for a while has showed me. I'm like, wow, there's so many people that come up to me and they know me. I mean, granted, you see a wheelchair and you obviously recognize me. It's a pretty recognizable thing, but like there's faces that I'll recognize and be like, I don't know how I know this person, and it's probably because I met them when I was tipsy at a bar.
Yeah, no, it's not a good feeling.
No,
especially if you wake up and you're like, damn, did I say something stupid?
yeah,
You know?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. If you think that, it's like, oh, yeah, I probably said some
I was
stupid
talking
stuff.
about that time at the
Yeah.
barn again.
Yeah. No, it's terrible. Yeah.
shows coming up.
Shows.
What do you got?
There are shows. Actually, I did a show at Foxwoods last weekend.
Where's that?
The Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut.
Cool. Who'd you
Yeah.
play with?
I play with this. It's a company called Golden Estate Entertainment. Morgan runs the show. She sings, and she puts these bands together. And I've been working with her for 10 years, maybe a little more than that now. She was specializing in private events, boutique-y kind of things.
Okay.
Because that's really where there's budgets are way bigger. So it's a meaningful compensation to do these kinds of events. We did a dance. It was a dance competition. So imagine like 500 young girls screaming. Like that's kind of what the scene was. But the different dance troupes would do their thing, and we would provide like bumper music in between during the changeovers between the groups. That was a gig. That was kind of interesting.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
So like, it seemed like we kind of like jumped here though. It was like, so you played the city gig with the band.
Back in high school.
Back in high school.
Yeah.
Where did it kind of go from there? So this band disseminates. You go to school. When do we get back to becoming a working drummer?
So let's see. So we all decided to go to school.
Yeah.
And I think we maybe did 2 or 3 shows. Like we did a show at Muhlenberg College, and we did another show in the city as like a reunion thing. But yeah, college mainly I was just playing more.
Nice.
I majored in music and would spend all my time putting bands together. We did a tribute. I put a band together that did a tribute to The Chronic by Dr. Dre.
Mm-hmm.
And this was kind of cool. We teamed up with like a literature professor. We actually got deep into Grandmaster Flash and like the history of rap, and that was really cool. And we brought it all the way up to like Dr. Dre and like what he was doing with Snoop and all that, and the messaging. And so yeah, we made it more than just like playing the album. It was a whole kind of history lesson and the whole experience.
So walk me through that. Like, what would that show look like?
Let's see. We were in the May Room, it was called, and inside the May Room there was we brought a stage in, and then I'd say we had about 200 students come through, and we just played the album down. Just played it down.
So you played it down, but when did the history lessons come into play?
So the history lesson happened. It was a pre-concert discussion, and I'd say there were about 100 students that showed up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was me, Joel, and the literature professor, and we just had like a 30 to 45 minute open discussion about, because there's some language in there that's racy,
mm-hmm.
and there's some. So we wanted to make sure that like people understood why we're doing this
mm-hmm.
and the significance of this record, because I mean it changed the whole rap game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just one thing that I did. There was reggae stuff I did, jammy stuff. I was just all over the map.
Mm-hmm.
Jazz, Ben Folds 5 cover band, all that shit.
Well, so would you say that perhaps college was a good thing?
I mean, that's a good point. I still believe that it was not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I will hold true to that. It was not necessary. Because
was it
I could have done
that you paid to
the value.
Yeah.
The value. It was not worth the value that that I paid.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can do music stuff
anywhere.
You can put your own bands together anyway.
Yeah.
So the value. That's a good point. It was the value of it that didn't line up.
I think my only pushback on that was you probably were surrounded by some pretty incredible musicians there. Like these are people who are devoted. Like they're spending a significant amount of money to be there. They're probably pretty put together people. Whereas, if you're just kind of floating around town, depending on where you are, depending on the city, of course,
true.
It might be a little bit more difficult to find people who are at the same caliber as like you were.
Yeah. Almost in a way that you could kind of be off put.
Mm-hmm.
If you play with some people that, that aren't taking it as serious, that want to play.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you putting a more positive spin on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get to play with some people, that were, And
I think life puts you where you're supposed to be. I think at the end of the day, maybe that was just the route for. Maybe that was just the route for you. Not everyone, though. I mean, I still think you're right. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
But I think I don't know if life is necessarily planned out to a T, but I think, I don't know. I just always think that you're right where you're supposed to be.
I like that. That's encouraging.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I think about that because there's times where there were so many times in high school I really wanted to put together a band. We would jam with, even us with a couple people, or I would play with a couple other friends. But like, they weren't, some of them played in the band in school, but they weren't going to college for any music or anything like that. They were going to pursue like other things that they were interested in. This was more like a hobby, especially like trying to get a singer. That was impossible. We went to a big school, here in Binghamton.
There's a lot of people with really good voices in Binghamton.
Yeah.
But like you said, they weren't necessarily like devoted to the craft. Like
right.
They were, this is something that I happen to be pretty decent at, but I want to go to school for marketing. Like just some random stuff.
I don't want to learn a bunch of songs and book a show.
Yeah,
kinda,
that's a lot. I got to study.
Right.
Where that's where I was like, I'm so into doing that. Let's hang out and like learn some songs together.
Well, that brings up a really good discussion point. What do you want from doing music? And it spans the whole spectrum. Like you said, you had singers that were great, but they didn't really want to commit to putting in the work to doing the thing with singing.
Yeah.
And I guess I pose the question to both of you. You know, what do you want from doing music? Because there's so many varying degrees.
Yeah. I mean, a big part is just bringing joy to people. The people I play with, the people I play for, people who are listening. I think music is so important because there's like so much negativity and bad things that could be happening. But a lot of times if there's music playing, it's like people just become so present, you know, and can be, and especially if it's something that they can enjoy and can maybe forget about whatever the problems they're dealing are. That's a big one for me. Is just like is having a positive impact on society through music, and whether that's just playing or we've been fortunate to help with booking some bands and helping bands play some shows and making sure they're getting paid, and that brings a lot of joy to me too. Is being able to support musicians in the music community. So. Yeah, that's like my passion for sure with it.
I'd say for me it's evolved definitely over the years. It was really just a hobby thing where I was just going to, you know, try to open up my own car dealership, and I was like, that was kind of my main passion after high school, was figuring that out. I just really enjoyed playing music, but over the past few years I've really gotten into the community. I've met such amazing people within the community, and I've also seen how hard it is to survive on, you know, being a musician. It's really, really difficult. Like, this is not an easy job, and to go out and have a bar or something like that try to pay you $300 after you have put in just countless hundreds of hours, more hours than this business owner has spent on their business, and a lot of times. So I think for me, where I sit right now is trying to develop as many connections as possible, and trying to help musicians in some sort of way, which I think is like my primary focus in music has been this podcast, and then also learning skills on how to have big events. Like, that's kind of our big goal with this project, is to be able to put on large events where, you know, you can have original singer-songwriters that aren't just playing covers all the time, have a place, have somewhere to go. To have a festival that is mainly around original music is something that this town does not have, and I think we have the perfect location for it. You have to go through Binghamton to get to Ithaca. You have to go through Binghamton to get to Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo. It's just all intertwined right here in Binghamton, if you want to go, like, say, downstate. So I think this area has so much to offer for music and art in general that I just want to kind of submerge myself within the community, and then obviously playing music is a lot of fun too. So I'm sure it's kind of like a side factor of what I'm really focused on right now, is just being able to play out is becoming less important to me, and more important trying to figure out how we can get some of these unbelievable original musicians on a stage where they are respected, paid well, and, you know, it's fun for everyone.
Yeah. Well, we do have the Grassroots coming up in Trumansburg.
Yeah,
that's probably the best example of, Kid Best is playing, right? Yeah, it's probably the best example of like a festival that focuses on original music and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
we would love to see a Grassroots here in Binghamton.
We've said it before, where it's like Otsinango is the perfect place to do it, I think. Yeah. No one has the only negative thing I hear anyone say is red tape. They don't even give me a specific. Like, I'm sure there's specific reasons, but to be able to create something like that would be such a positive impact on the community. It would finally bring people from out of the community to one place. And I don't think that's something that we have here. I mean, name all the festivals that we have. There's nothing that's drawing people from out of this area unless you're paying them to be here. So,
and none of them are like a real festival that you're camping out at and sleeping at. They're just like day-to-day festivals end at the end of the night.
It's like the ego in me. It's like I want to have all of the hotels booked because of me. Because of an event that I helped facilitate. Yeah, that's the ego inside me. But I think that's a positive twist on this.
And if that's gonna motivate the thing to happen, impact, then you do it.
It might be a unhealthy way to look at it. We'll find out at Grassroots, I guess, when I go play around there. But I just want to make something big. Make something big.
Big events.
Yeah.
Community oriented.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
It's cool.
Big enough events in the area that would attract, regional acts to want to play it. And then that way, a lot of that fan base would be interested in coming to the town and seeing some of the other bands, because there's so many great bands that are on the come up. And even thinking back to when we were in school, I'm seeing a lot of bands coming out of the schools in this area.
Oh yeah,
right out of high school. There's several bands. The Bundy has really created a space for this DIY punk scene.
They love the Bundy.
Yeah, love the Bundy. And it's like a beautiful thing to see. Because we're 10 years out of high school, and it wasn't like that when we were in school. It wasn't that kind of music interest. Or
watch what the Bundy evolves to.
Yeah.
In 3 years. Not even. It's like these kids are fresh out of high school. They're going to develop the skills in order to, throw a fundraiser to get them, better sound equipment, to get them a proper stage, to get them the things that they need to host the best events. That's going to be, that was their baby, so they're going to want to invest. That was the place that gave them a place to go. So they have love for that place, and it's just going to get bigger and better. Bundy is a very, very cool place. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So what about with the future? You talk about the future of events and music, and what about this AI stuff that's happening? I wonder what your thoughts are, because that shit's gonna
I'm a little worried when I think about the creative space.
Yeah.
It feels like there's almost an attack on creativity, even though it was built by creativity.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, think what is it really going to do for you? What is AI going to do for you? It's gonna write you something.
It can write you something.
You can either like it or not like it.
Right.
It's still an individual that is listening to this piece of music. If you typed in "write me," whatever kind of song, and I want to hear it. If you play it, you don't like it. You don't like it. It is what it is. And that's kind of what we do now, anyways. We're like, oh, I like that riff. I like that riff. I like that riff. It's just making it easier to get to that point. It's going to happen faster, but I think that you can think of it as it's going to be more manufactured, but I don't know. There might be a grace point where it's like this unbelievably creative stuff comes out, and then it just kind of all starts.
Well, I see it more in terms of bands being created by AI. So you're going to have a full band with artwork. It's going to exist online, and this entity is going to attract people, and they're not going to care that it's AI. They're going to like it anyways because it's catchy or it sounds good.
Stage.
Huh?
You get some robots on stage.
Yeah. or holograms, which they've
it doesn't
already
even
done.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be. It could just be a light show.
Yeah.
It could just be a light show, but you're going to have these entire bands created by AI.
Isn't that kind of what's happening though already?
Yeah.
I mean, go listen to I can't even call anyone out because I don't know who these people are. But you look at DJs now, and it's like they're pressing play and then pretending to move knobs around. You see videos of it all the time where it's just they're not doing anything but dancing up on stage. It's just someone else wrote this music. They're just going like this. And that's it, and the crowd's getting hyped. So it's like that already exists today.
Did y'all ever see Music before? It was like animation music.
No.
Yes, with the marbles and the that stuff was cool.
That's some AI stuff right there. And
that's a good point.
They would just make different sounds from objects.
Yeah, it was like a digital.
It was animated though.
Yeah, it was like an animated digital sound machine.
That's all programmed.
And it was all programmed.
So it was made by someone.
I don't think there was. I
don't
know
know if
it was
little
AI.
balls
it was like
shooting out.
Yeah, and they hit the different things.
They would hit like a drum and then
man.
like a string, and it would sound awesome. It would sound really cool.
Anna music.
Yeah, that was my joint.
Good reference there. Holy shit.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of a way that AI could kill musicians as a whole. Like
I don't think it ever will. It's to me like what I've seen going through the life and through the music scene especially is I have found that a lot of musicians are not up to date on what's happening.
No,
not at all.
And I've and some are, but that's in the minority.
Yeah,
I would venture to say most musicians are not staying up to date with what's happening with the trends and all that, because it's soul sucking in a way.
Yeah,
it is.
But it also kind of, again, it's like what you want to do.
What's trendy on TikTok right now, and how can I make a video on it?
Right.
You take a trendy TikTok song and then you cover it.
That's what's been done. Yeah.
Where I see with the AIs being successful with bands versus the bands that we have now is like the big things like egos, right? It's a massive issue. But then you just have like the little things like you could form a endless band. You could have every basis covered, every sort of different instrument and player, where that'd be kind of ridiculous to think of having like a 20-piece band. Nobody's late.
Right, nobody's late. You're not dealing with all that.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't there an AI version of a Drake song that came out? And
I'm not sure, but
I'm sure where
someone.
it's just,
but I
just
see
Drake's
those
voice and a beat.
I see those deep fakes,
Yeah, they got that.
and that's like, whoa.
crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. I have gotten definitely gypped by a couple deep fakes where I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. But they'll make them just so it's like just on the cusp of believable. But it's like definitely out of pocket. I've always gotten to the point where I'm like, all right, I got to Google this and just be like, what is behind this? And then it'll be like, oh, deep fake of, Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whatever it is.
The Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg fight is going to be a deep fake. That's it. It's just going to be.
They're just, I think what's really happening is these billionaires they're both building robots and they're going to figure out whose robot is the best. And they're going to look exactly like Elon's building the Elon robot and he's going to send them out there.
Yeah.
Mark's just going as himself because he is a robot, but
Kind of is.
still.
Yeah.
Mark's just showing up.
That movie was really good, though. The Social Network.
Such a good movie.
It was really good.
I've never watched that movie.
So
I should
good.
watch
You
it tonight.
Definitely
Yes.
got to
Maybe
watch
I'll throw
it.
it on.
Yeah, it's
See if I could find
like
it.
a thriller, but it's also like other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The music is who's 9 Inch Nails? Trent Reznor, right? He does the music for that.
Nice.
Yeah, for Social Network. That's the 9 Inch Nails guy.
I watched a movie about. No, it wasn't a movie. It was like a little documentary about just like how much time we spend on social media.
It's disgusting.
It was that was kind of scary.
Well, like cumulatively, like average.
It was just like how we get sucked in,
Yeah.
and
I've been struggling with that, man.
yeah, me too. It's been tough.
It affects your brain.
Yeah.
It does.
Like I just like become zombified, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I still looking at this?
Right.
Get me out of here, man.
Yeah. Because it could be anything for me too. Like there's like the entertainment side, but there's also like just getting lost in reverb, and just like checking out music gear.
These vintage drum heads look pretty sweet. I don't know if I pull it this way, if I don't eat, if I eat some ramen, I don't know.
Oh, man.
Might be able to get those.
Yeah.
There's just so much info, and we have so much choice, and it could be debilitating.
Yeah. I try so hard to keep the self-control of just being okay with the fact that I don't need to figure something out on Google. Just be okay with it, not looking it up. It's like, all right, whatever.
Can't remember the name of that actress.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Who cares?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, who cares?
Does it really matter?
Doesn't really matter. It's all right. I'll wait till the credits,
Yeah.
and then I'll find out
Right.
if I really want to know. Yeah, there's that part where we are going into this. I mean, technology has just constantly been on this crazy progress over the last, forever.
I mean, since
but the last
2008,
20 years,
I'd
yeah,
say specifically,
it's been crazy.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to go. It's going there, but a lot of people are going back to the basics. You know, there's a lot of people gardening. There's a lot of people reading.
Sure, yeah. There's yeah.
I like that trend where people are going out with flip phones now.
Yeah,
Have you
people are
seen
using
that?
flip phones.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, super cool. Super. I want to do that.
Lomo says he's getting rid of his cell phone. He's going to get a voicemail. He's going to get a house phone.
Wow, landline.
That's
He's gonna get a
crazy.
He says already. Well, I think with his like Spectrum or internet service, he's already has the landline, so he just has to hook up the phone.
Uh-huh.
I was like, dude, I'm gonna leave you messages all the time
Yeah.
if you get a landline. I'm like, hey, well, pick up.
All I can think about is like the phones that were just super, super annoying to the rings on them were like,
Yeah.
like just crazy rings. I'm going to call them
Aggressive.
at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Hear it throughout the house. I used to get excited. I used to get excited when the phone would ring at home. Like, oh, what? Now the phone rings. It's like, who the hell is this?
Well, it's like the doorbell. You used to get excited when somebody was ringing the doorbell, knocking on the door. Now it's like,
yeah,
this is not a drill.
They're coming for us. Everybody hide. So yeah, it's interesting it's kind of uncharted territory. Like they say, history repeats itself, but the tech, that's kind of the unless this technology has existed before and we're just rediscovering it.
True.
Yeah.
If you really want to get crazy.
Yeah, that's heady stuff. Another point to that, it is entirely possible that nobody actually knows what's really going on in the world, and everybody, like, because there's so much confusion now. Even people at the highest levels, maybe they don't even know.
They're just kind of going,
and they're just trying.
And they
to
just
figure
happen
it
to
out.
have been born into this amazing situation of wealth and power.
Yeah,
It's just out of chance.
You throw the marbles out, and you don't get to pick who you're born to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's kind of there's been a lot of confusion, and I maybe that's it. Maybe nobody really knows.
It's true, because there can be people that feel very comfortable that shouldn't feel that at all, and vice versa.
Yeah,
people that feel very uncomfortable they're just fine. You know.
Yeah, I think
generally
we're all
just
fairly
fine.
safe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right? No matter where you're from, like if
we're not getting chased by saber-toothed tigers, so it's
kind of where we are. Yeah, I think I would say we're fairly safe.
It's a lot of the problems are in here, and it's just human nature, I think, to have problems and need to solve them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's what I can't remember who said. Probably Rogan or something like that. It said that's probably why we have such bad anxiety. It's because we're not running from anything really. So our brains are like they're wired to be sensitive to like have anxiety. Like back then, you should have anxiety, some kind of fear. You should have your head on a swivel. But now we don't really need that, so we look for anything to be anxious about.
That's interesting.
So that very small, minute thing, that paper that needs to get turned in, is now your saber-toothed tiger. So you have this crazy over-the-top reaction to something that really isn't that big of a deal at all.
Yeah,
nothing's going to happen to you. You're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. But no, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. Yeah, anxiety is kind of it could be a tool, like you say. We're kind of wired to it. Like the tool is like to push you to. I gotta take care of this.
It's like when I'm sitting awake, like my horrible sleep schedule. It's nuts. There's some nights that I literally do not sleep, and it's because I'm like I am up thinking about I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, and that is not a healthy way to. I'm not saying this is a healthy thing that I do, but it is learning how to control that and be able to harness that drive and ambition to do something within reasonable hours, like knowing like, okay, that email can wait till tomorrow, but still having that drive and ambition to go out and get something.
Yeah, I've told people before that I like being a little paranoid.
You like being a little paranoid?
Yeah,
I don't.
Keeps you on edge.
Keeps me like not.
I'm paranoid enough.
Not on the edge, but just. And I know that we can have very different definitions or levels of paranoia. There's I'm not thinking of like being like, oh my god, in this intense state of paranoia, but a little bit of paranoia.
Moses backed in the corner like
I embrace.
Like, what's wrong, Moses? He's like, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
No, we're not. No, we're not talking to that level. Like I'm talking.
He's got a knife.
I'm on the level of like just being. And I'm not always like this. I mean, I think I feel a lot of this when I'm driving. I feel like paranoid a little.
You should be paranoid.
And
not enough people are paranoid when they're driving. You're driving a death machine.
Right.
You can die at any
And
second.
you can
Get out of the way. Learn how to merge.
And you could hit somebody really quick in the crosswalk. You know what I mean?
Someone's life like
yeah.
that.
So like things like that. Like when I'm gonna like turn, especially like turning on this kind of busy corner. There's always like people riding their bikes and stuff. I was like, I would absolutely hate to hit somebody, you know. And there are some times where I'm just chilling and like I'm not so paranoid, and I hit it and nothing happens, but I'm just like, oh shit, man. Somebody was like 2 feet away.
Scary.
But no, I prefer not to be like, especially watching my son like walking up and down stairs. I'm just like. He's just learning, and it's gonna be all right, you know.
I'm not there. I tell Moses all the time. Yeah, you're like, this kid. I'm so nervous around Lincoln right now because he's so just all over the place. I'm like, God, I can't let him get hurt. I'm the closest one to him, so I need to make sure that he's okay.
That's that paranoia right there.
Yeah. But I'm not a dad. Like I didn't have him from this little tiny thing to now he's this tall, which is insane. But not. I think you've probably seen him fall enough to where, and he's just not gotten hurt.
Yeah,
to where it's
seen him take a couple licks.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't gotten to see him fall, like really fall. So,
no,
I'm a little sensitive.
It's
to
surprising, you know, how resilient. But it's funny. Kids kind of push their pain tolerance. They're figuring it all out, you know.
It's how you learn what your boundaries are, and I mean, kids are a lot of cartilage still in them.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
a little more bendy.
Like little bouncy balls, just bing,
right
up, right up.
Well, like, and it's even like their center of balance is different. Like you could just spin around in circles.
All in their head.
Yeah. You could just like spin around in circles for days. I spin around in circles for a minute. I'm like,
you're done, right?
Dude.
You sit down. That's so depressing. I didn't even think about it. I haven't spun around in a circle in probably more than 7 years, because at 17 years old I wasn't doing that all the time. But
I used to get down with some spins,
dude. That used to be so much fun. I used to just
arms
sit
out.
I would just sit in the kitchen driving my mom nuts, spinning until I'd hit my head on a cabinet or something. Like it was just, that's what's wrong with me. That's really what happened. I
hit your head
scrambled
really
my brains with spins.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I prefer roller coasters.
Yeah, we do a roller coaster.
It's been a while since I've hit some roller coasters.
Yeah.
We should go. We should go to.
I'd be down.
We should go to a park.
Let's
Six
go.
Flags.
Darien Lake.
Yeah,
let's
go. That's my favorite. Well,
it's the closest one. I think.
Is it the closest?
So what is it, a couple hours?
What about Great Adventures?
Actually, what's Great Adventure from here? Like 3.5, 4?
I don't know. I went there when I was like probably 15 years old and had the best time ever. When I was like every single ride, because I was there with my uncle, who's like a complete badass, and there was no way I was gonna punk out.
we talked about there's a ride at Darien Lake where your legs are down. I can just imagine my legs just
swinging back and forth.
That would be
swinging in the breeze.
The Superman ride is like that in Jersey. Your legs would definitely be like.
My legs are just gonna go over my head.
Oh my god! Someone's got to get a video of that. That happens.
It's like Joe Swanson, Family Guy.
That was my cover photo. That was my cover photo forever. It was Joe jumping out of the plane. And his legs.
That show was really offensive when it first came out. Like the stuff they put on there, I'm like, oh wow, this would not fly today.
My girlfriend's sister
South
showed
Park
me.
Well, I was not South Park, Family Guy, but South Park.
South Park
oh my
still
goodness.
gets away with that shit.
They get away with everything, dude. They don't hold back.
A Family Guy scene where Joe's wife, who's like pregnant and the whole thing, like has the baby, and the doctor's like sitting there, goes, oh, here comes the chair, and puts the chair down, and then grabs the baby. It's funny because you do get asked that question as a paralyzed person, like, oh, are your kids going to be paralyzed? Like, no. no, this happened to me when I was 19.
Right.
I wasn't born this way. And
Even
then, people are funny.
I'm just picturing it. It's just such a funny scene, and like
it's hilarious.
Just, like, kind of
Hilarious. Like there's, I don't know. At least my view, you definitely see people in the disabled community get offended over stuff that is pretty light. But I think the vast majority of people who are paralyzed have had to develop such a sick sense of humor that it's just like nothing's really going to faze you unless you're like genuinely being mean to a person.
Right.
Like if you just say a joke, like it's just most of the time not going to offend us. Like my buddy called me a cripple today.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is not like, he's my buddy. Like he didn't mean that in any sort of way. Like it's not like if he was being mean about it, I'm like, dude, what is your problem?
Yeah.
But
the tone of voice and like context of it.
Of course.
Yeah, we were hitting wheelchair jokes. Like, I mean, when you a month out of the hospital.
Oh yeah. It was relentless.
We never stopped.
Wow, you guys are just right at it.
We didn't.
No, it's like, what's the point in like dancing around this?
And you like embraced it. Yeah,
100%
always embraced it. Yeah, and that's why we did it. I think that's why we did it. It just made it. Yeah.
Right from the very start, like I had nothing to do in the hospital, so I would sit there, and there's a picture of me. This was at a time when I believe a judge had been talking about how like nurses really don't do all that much, and you know they're sitting playing cards. So like the meme that was going around was just nurses playing cards, like something like it would just be like someone in an ambulance dying, and then you just see like nurses with cards, playing cards. Like obviously that's not true, but this judge is just so out of pocket. So I put something like they had just gotten me onto like my hands and knees, being able to like kind of find my balance there. And there's a picture that was taken with one of the nurses like holding my hips, and then the other one is like kind of bracing my shoulders a little bit. And it was like perfect. I put a bunch of cards like in a circle. I photoshopped them and put them right on my back, and I was like, thank God for my PTs hard at work. Like it was hilarious. It was I don't know, just right out of the gate I had to find the humor in the situation. Because it is such a horrible situation that it's like...
Yeah. Humor is an incredible way to deal with difficult and traumatic situations.
You're there. Man. It's like you can only sit and cry about it so much until you're just like, well, am I going to cry for the rest of my life, or are we going to kind of get on with this?
Yeah. I think a big part for me, and I don't know if it was the same way for some of our friends, but like when we found out that he was in an accident like that, like it was fucking scary, dude. Like it was like, what?
They didn't know if I was going to survive. Like
that's the scary part.
That's where we were all at. Like is this there's no way that this is really happening.
Ooh.
And then I remember going to the hospital a couple days after and talking to your mom, and she was like freaking devastated, you know what I mean? Because you still had like a couple that big surgery.
Yeah.
It's like, what was it, like 10 hours or something like that? 12 hours?
It was some
ridiculous.
obscene amount of time that I was...
you had to be out for that long, like for a really long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, they had to completely put my back together and put a cage around. So it's not just like a couple rods. Like it's completely encompass my spine. So there's like rod here in the front and then rod in the back. And they just built a cage around this just completely... just disintegrated bone, so there was nothing there that they really could work with. And then on top of that, it was in a very weird spot. So it was a lumbar injury, which is lower. So your nerves are connected at your brainstem. They go all the way down. It's still a cord, and then right at your lumbar is where it starts to fan out and start to go down your legs. So it's not really the cord per se. But what happens is this sac is there, so you have this bundle of nerves, which is just a mess. You can't really do anything with it, and you have to patch up the dirt around it, try to make sure the cerebral fluid inside of there isn't leaking, which became a problem. I had to get a surgery 3-4 weeks later after that again to get that repaired. It was it's a lot. It's a lot. Tons of stuff.
Jeez, you're
Yeah.
glad you're here.
Yeah, when he finally came back,
my.
I mean, like, it maybe wasn't the healthiest way, but we didn't even like get into it. We just went
right to the bar.
Went back to the
to the bar.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah,
right?
we were just like we
went through hell. Let's go to the bar.
Yeah, let's celebrate.
We were never like, hey
life.
man, what's going on? How when's your next appointment and shit like that? It was just like, no, we were just.
My next appointment was at Uncle Tony's.
Yeah, we were just living life.
At Dr. Tony's
and having a party, and that was like it, and cracking jokes, and that was we were doing for a few years.
Y'all sound like really good friends. And
Yeah.
y'all are really close
for a long time.
Yeah,
long time.
That's a treasure, man.
Yeah. It's tough, and it's like, and I remember like after high school we didn't talk for a bit. I mean, like we were always around each other.
But it was never purposely. It was just life we were
life took us
both
different places.
trying to focus on our careers at the time. You were getting into construction, which you were working crazy hours.
I was gone,
and then I was working out in Appalachian, which is most of the time the opposite direction of where you'd be going.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I'm glad that we've always stayed connected, always stayed in touch. I mean, even then, after high school, we would hang out here and there and get together. But, I mean, after the accident, it felt like it brought us closer in a way.
Substantially,
you know? Because he couldn't get away.
Yeah.
I lock his chair. So you gotta hang out. You gotta hang out with me, man. You stuck with me, dude.
Shit.
No. Oh, damn it.
This is worse.
That's your punishment.
This is worse. Take me back to the hospital. Shit.
That's so good.
Oh man. Yeah, dude. I remember. I was actually thinking about it today. We would hang out. And he had that other wheelchair, and I would just like roll around the house in the other wheelchair, just kind of hanging. It's like,
I think I still got that kicking around somewhere.
Yeah, we're in this together, man.
You could play basketball.
Hell yeah.
Wheelchair basketball.
Oh, that would be sick.
Yeah,
that game's intense. I've never played, but I've seen like a couple clips.
Oh yeah.
Like they're really good. People that play that game, like they know what's up.
They're physical too.
Yeah.
They'll
I got into adaptive sports after I don't know, it was a couple years after my accident. I started skiing. So they have a contraption called a monoski. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it basically the technology at this point, it's like aerospace engineers are designing these things because I don't know, they're bored.
They're bored.
But anyways, so super high-tech piece of equipment, and they're trying to figure out right now just different ways that they can make this this machine operate the way that a ski should form on the snow, basically. So anyways, the advancement has gotten nuts to where they're really competitive, where I'm faster than most people on the hill at this point. But yeah, I for a while I was going out to Utah. I think I'm not going to be able to do it this next year, but for probably 3 years I go out and I train with a team in Park City, Utah.
Oh.
So like one of the best places ever. And those guys are out of their minds.
Yeah.
Out of their minds. Some of the truly some of the best athletes ever. They are unbelievable. So talented. And aggressive. Really aggressive. Super cool to see. Yeah, no, wheelchairs don't really stop people in the sports field.
Right.
Especially if you're an athlete before, I think you got so much enjoyment from sports before, you got to get back to it.
Yeah.
And then it just puts you in a better place. I mean, these are highly motivated people. If you get disabled, those are the people you surround yourself with. People who are into adaptive sports do not care about their situation. I mean, it sucks. It is what it is, but they move on and try to make the most of their life. Super inspirational people. Super. So it's been very important to get back to that.
Yeah. Sports, I think, is just... It's just a super helpful thing for development and growth. Being in a team, working together for a common goal,
like a band.
A band. It's funny. I've always, maybe this is why I say that, but being in a band to me has always been like being on a sports team. And you could argue it either way, but to me it really is. If you want to be a high functioning, showing, like we talked about, like the AI always being on time, right? And like how people are not, and like, but if you can get that where like everybody's rocking together, everybody's on time, everybody's doing their thing, like it feels good, you know, to have that.
Well, it's like Mike Wu was talking about when he was on here, talking about being prepared.
Yeah, preparation.
You know, it's so important to be prepared, and preparing for the gig that you don't even know is coming. You know, that's an important thing to do, and always practicing and always getting in there and evolving the craft, you know, and picking up new things where you can. It reminds me, there's this funny meme of this like football player in their football uniform, standing in like the stadium watching the football game, the helmet on and everything, like what it's like being a musician watching a band.
Put me in.
Yeah,
just like kind of watching, dude. Like really like into it.
That's why I have trouble watching a full show or a full concert.
Yeah.
It's because I'd rather be playing. Like, I don't want to watch these motherfuckers play.
Tell me you don't go to watch a show and then immediately just like, I wish I had a kit with me. Yeah. Like I just wanna jam. Like same thing. I try to bring a guitar whenever I go anywhere. It sucks not having a guitar, and then being especially when you get inspired by something and you're like, I gotta figure this out. It's in my head. Yeah. Shit, I'm 2 hours away in the middle of nowhere. Damn.
I feel like I am getting more and more to that point though, where it's like, dang, I want to be playing.
You just rather be playing
than watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love to watch music, but still, I get that feeling a lot.
It really is a sports team. If you, to me, it is. If you're doing it right, if you're really like, you know, you're banding together, you got each other's back. You know, if something goes wrong, you help someone out. Yeah, I love it.
It's like me. I'm just always looking for the bass player. Just like, where am I? What am I doing? You should know. You're kind of the backbone here.
Yeah.
I like the sports analogy of it though, because it goes to show you that there are different levels of it.
There are, totally, yes.
You know, there's your novice that kind of just do it for fun, and then there's your ones that are really doing it and doing it as much as they can and taking it as serious as they can, and that looks different. You know, that can be just people who are just practicing all the time, or people who are playing a bunch of gigs. You know, sometimes there's people that are playing that aren't playing a bunch of gigs because they're not in the right place to do that. Everybody's going to be in a different place with what they can and can't do. It's not always ideal.
Team building is important. You know, I've been encouraging some of the groups that I'm in to focus more on like team building and like systems, right? Systems of operation. You know, the entire band. If you have a band of 7 people and you're trying to get stuff done, and all 7 people feel like they have to be involved in every decision, you're going to be moving like a turtle.
Yeah.
You ain't getting shit done.
No.
So, you know, the setting up systems in place, knowing your role, and okay, we only need 2 people to figure out this thing. There's some cases where you'll need the full band. Like, okay, this concerns the full band because we're gonna like, you know, decide if we want to do this gig or not. That might concern the whole band. But if you've got like, okay, I need to, like, what would be an example of something that maybe only 2 people need to decide?
Social media.
Like social media.
You
don't need all 7 people signing in and doing that shit.
You need like 1 or 2 people.
1 or 2.
One is good enough.
Like in a 7-person band, it might be helpful to have 2 people, depending on what it is. One thing that I've learned is that it is very hard to get social media content of the entire band unless you guys are spending every waking moment together. It makes it very, very difficult to capture content that includes everyone. So that's where it gets a little bit tough, where like these kids ain't got nothing to do after school. They're just going and they're playing music and they're all hanging out with each other anyway, so they can grow these awesome channels. Or if you guys are professional musicians, all you guys are doing are playing gigs. You don't have a daytime job or anything like that, then it's possible. But
if your gigs, rehearsal, studio, you're always together.
I tell you, the people that I find that are doing a tremendous job is Kapani, who we had up here. They pick one day a week where they just go and they have all these different skit ideas, or just it's something, cool. It's anything. So they pick one day where they film everything, and then if I kind of geared my perception correctly. I think Tiffany does a lot of like the editing and the posting and the scheduling and doing all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
At least that's what was in my head.
You know who else has got their stuff on point? Like I've been following it closely. Michaela Davis.
Michaela Davis.
Sounds
She's
so
a harp player. I did a thing with her a couple.
Oh, I saw that.
Like
yes,
I
saw
that's
that.
what
Yep.
I saw.
The Zelda thing.
Yeah.
Little
okay.
interview.
Maybe that's where I'm.
She's got her social media stuff down. It's just.
Yeah, I heard you guys talking about that a little bit. Where it's the catch-22 situation of, you know, being able to connect with all of these people, but then also at the same time, like having that connection right there is a little bit difficult.
Yeah, a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah.
But she seems like she's got a good hold on it. Where she'll release like a clip of a tune and artwork, and then there's I don't know. It somehow you can tell when something is aligned, and you know.
That's kind of the idea with like how we run the like Instagram, Facebook, and all that sort of stuff, where we want to drive people to our YouTube so they can watch, you know, our full content, and then they might be interested, be like, oh, so these people are really good musicians. I love her voice or something like that, and hopefully we've been able to sit down with her and have like a full-on podcast to where that person might be interested in who this person is.
And you grab them with the short clips.
Yeah, you grab them with that short clip, bring them to watch the entire music video.
Let's do a bunch of short clips for this episode.
Yeah,
Love it.
we've got a bunch of clips.
That's kind of what we have been doing with a long form.
I'll post some too.
Yeah,
please send me whatever you got.
What we do is we'll clip them up, invite you as a collaborator, and then if you like them, just boop boop.
Yeah.
And now it goes to both.
That's cool.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I want to say I really appreciate you guys putting this show together.
Of course.
Oh, yeah,
because
for sure.
you know it's definitely a void in the community, in the music community here, and you're filling it. You provide a platform for musicians to talk.
Well, thank you. I mean, that means a lot. That's it morphed over the years.
Yeah.
Well, over the couple years that we've really been thinking about this, we've always wanted to do a podcast, but then it just kind of morphed into this perfect little thing.
Yeah, we've known for a while we wanted to get this kind of set up behind the camera, talking to each other, and then it kind of became like, let's get musicians on and other people in the same space. You know, this is super early still with only having a few guests on so far.
Yeah.
But we're excited to see what happens and see what grows, because
you got merch.
We've got merch.
We got merch. Really, we're kind of big time now. I don't know if you guys check out our Instagram bio.
Do it.
Yeah, we've wanted to create. Well, we talked about the festivals, but we always say, man, what if we owned a venue, with the stage and everything like that? No. And right now we just don't have the funds for that, but we have the funds and the time to run this. So this is our venue.
So, this is our venue for now. But like I was saying, with the big events and stuff like that, if any business owner at some point sees an amazing festival that like Moses and I have been attached to and helped grow into this big thing. It's like if anyone with money who's looking to invest in something has seen that we've been able to achieve this, we have the connections, we can definitely book bands. That's not going to be a problem. It's just figuring out if we're capable of, running a bar and running schedules and doing all these other things, which I know we are.
Yeah.
It's just, gotta show your actions.
That's it.
And by doing something big, I think it's a way to get some OPM, other people's money.
Yeah.
You gotta think big. You
Exactly.
gotta think big.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's actually a real people get in their own way a lot of the time because they're not thinking big enough.
It's true.
And you gotta think big. It's other people might say it's crazy, but like
Festival on Mars, let's go.
Yeah.
Fucking do it.
I get in with the Neuralink. This is how we do it. I get in with the Neuralink. I let Elon put a Neuralink in my head, and I'm like, "Listen, dude, I really want to have this festival on Mars." Well, I mean, you're gonna go up there. You're sending a rocket there. You're sending people there.
It.
No music. Are you
Come
an
on,
idiot?
they have bands on Mars.
What are you talking about,
Bands
dude?
on Mars.
Well, I've always been a
Throw
big
Dogecoin up there. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've
you have the
been-
Mars Volta play. There you go.
I've always been big about like undersell, over deliver, but sometimes it's fun to over deliver because it holds yourself accountable. you know, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Yeah, watch.
That's right.
That's a good.
That's right,
that's, see,
You
that
know?
is a good point. Is to you don't want to bite off more than you can chew, but you kind of want to take
Sometimes
a little
you do,
bit
yeah.
more.
Well, I think you want to have the idea.
Yeah.
At least have the idea of thinking big. Like you can, like you said, over deliver, undersell. I think that's separate from just having the big idea, because when you have the big idea, you tap into the universe and it can move you and create momentum in that direction. And there's a certain air about you, your body language. It's like, you matter, right? And if you think big, you bring bigger energy your way.
100%.
100% believe that.
Confidence. It's a whole different aura about you can attract things. It's what do they call it? What is it? The law of attraction?
Law of attraction. That's
I
it.
got into that documentary one time. That was funny.
The documentary was funny.
Yeah, some of it was so far-fetched. This guy's like, I put this picture of the house on my board, my vision board, and I don't know, 15 years later, I ended up buying that house. I didn't even know. I'd be like, bullshit, you didn't know. You had a picture of the house. You put it there. You knew. You're telling me you didn't get an aerial view of this house when you bought it? Get out of here.
Well, here's one that Jim Carrey did something. He tells a story of he wrote a check for himself. I think it was for like $1 million before he was making real money. He just wrote the check for $1 million, and he said, "I'm gonna cash this check when I make it," and he fucking cashed it.
Damn. I love that.
Years later, yeah. So
that's all you got to do.
Just write a check for $1 million
on
to
there.
yourself.
There you go. Yeah, might as well throw Billy on there. That's the way to go now.
You gotta have the vision. Yeah, I think that's important.
It's true. Manifestation is to me. I'm all about manifestation. And you can not just thinking it, but like saying it out loud. And reminding yourself, hey, this is what's gonna happen. This is what we're gonna do. Write it down. Yeah. It's so important. Yeah. And because you said this earlier, you can really do whatever you want.
Yeah.
There's no path, and it's all about having a vision, right? And knowing that you're not just gonna go from here to here. You're gonna maybe take some steps up, maybe a couple steps back down.
Yeah.
It's part of the journey. You can't just
steps down. Really suck though, man.
Yeah, I got like 100 of those right now.
Yeah,
I'll show you later. But
cool.
I gotta see.
I'll show you. It's a little thing that when I was editing, it was just this perfect moment.
Oh my goodness, my hand.
Always. Excellent.
I'll show you.
Yeah, but you're right.
So how bad did you Photoshop
it? So bad.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you're onto something. It's important. It's hard. Steps back are really bad. But that feeling, I had a feeling recently. I had that feeling of like, I had kind of a setback. I didn't do something that I felt. There was a moment, and I did not carpe diem. I did not seize the day. And sitting with that feeling that night and having to go to sleep with that feeling, it's awful. But it's that same feeling that teaches you, like, you don't want to feel this again. So you better seize the moment next time. And that's a painful lesson.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of therapists will kind of say that, where you just have to, if you're angry or you get upset, like to take a moment and say, why am I feeling this emotion? So many people don't ask themselves, why am I feeling this way? They just act with the emotion, and it doesn't help you in any way, and it can make you look like a fool sometimes. And it's like, I'm so guilty of doing this, to where I'm trying to be more perceptive of doing it, or really thinking about why is it that I feel this particular way about this particular thing.
Yeah, it's like the power of now. It's like bad things aren't the situation itself, but our perception of the situation.
Ooh.
Oh
man, that's a good one.
Yeah.
The perception of the situation.
It's been a great, super philosophical podcast.
It is.
I tell you.
If you really sit down and think about it, it's like,
that's good, man.
Dude, some of the littlest things piss me off. You know what I mean? It's like, why?
What pisses you off?
Like, say for instance, I go to open the car door and it's not unlocked. It's
so many times.
It's like, why am I mad about that? Just unlock it and go.
That's justified. Don't think about it. I don't want to think about that. It makes me so angry.
Though. But those are the little things. There's so many little tiny things that are upsetting, and it's just come on, chill out.
You spill some milk on your shorts,
something like that.
Son of a bitch.
And it's somebody else's fault. You know what I mean? It's why me?
Yeah, it's so true. All those things.
I literally did it 10 minutes before I drove over here. I was going to plug a pedal, and I'm just messing around with my guitar cables, and I put everything where it is. It's me. I set it there. I am the problem. I am trying to run. My wheel isn't going over something. Motherfucker.
Who put this here?
God damn it, I can't move anywhere. Fuck. Yeah. And I was just you put it there. You're mad at yourself.
You're mad at yourself, yeah.
That's it.
Why? That's it.
When you go to open the car door, it's you didn't wait long enough for the car to open.
Exactly.
Or you didn't
Who's
press
to blame for this?
Right.
Who? This is madness. Just see your reflection in the car window. That's who. That's that guy again.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it is.
Too funny.
Yeah.
Well, shoot. We were getting into shows.
Yeah, we were.
What do you have coming up?
That's right. Coming up. What do I have coming up? Grassroots Festival in Trumansburg. Maddie Walsh will be playing.
Okay. What days?
So that's Saturday is Maddie Walsh. That's 3 p.m.
And we'll be there.
She just had a baby. Her and Suave had a baby.
Wow.
And she's slated to perform.
Oh,
so
get out of here! That's so
what is
cool.
just had a baby?
Yeah,
what is
timeline
is it this month?
I think it. So she had the kid
last week.
She had him this past Monday, maybe.
Wow.
Last Monday, last week, I think.
I saw some photos of her performing at Ithaca Fest.
Yeah, she's going for it. Oh yeah, she was performing right before. Yeah. She's going for it. So barring that everything is okay, 3 p.m. Grassroots.
Excellent.
For Maddie Walsh. She's badass. She's amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then Driftwood on Sunday. It'll be some Sunday evening show.
Sweet.
Yeah. Other than that, don't have maybe something at the end of the month, but that's depending on when this episode comes out.
And what are you working on just kind of solo right now?
I got a lot of fun stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah, I have a short video that I have put together.
Nice.
And it's called Cicada Madness. It is sort of like a form of art, but also a form of promotion for my audio drama called Cicada Madness.
Okay.
Very cool.
Pretty out there. It's hard rock soundtrack with a story acted out by voice actors, and it's in the vein of a B-movie. The concept is giant cicadas terrorize the backwoods of West Virginia, and a group of college students has to navigate that landscape. That's pretty much it.
That sounds pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's
and
really
then hard
awesome.
rock on top of that.
Hard rock soundtrack. Smashing cicadas.
Super interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. And so this little video
Okay.
in which I don't want to give it too much, but there's
No.
smashing involved,
Okay.
and there's some gore involved.
Excellent.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that.
It's fun. Yeah.
When's that? When are we? Do you have a date?
I'm looking at. I was looking at next week actually.
Oh,
so
okay.
It may drop on Instagram
For the promo video?
for the promo. It's like
Okay.
a minute. It's about a minute long, and it's just something that's meant to kind of grab your attention. Like, what the hell is
yeah.
this?
Love it.
It's fun. It's very fun. Campy. Yeah.
I like that.
All right, we'll definitely clip that up.
Yeah.
We'll
Right.
clip that up.
We'll have
and
that
then-
ready before you put that promo
Yeah,
out.
for sure. Well, we'll make sure that that's
Yeah. It
that
might
this
get pushed
drops.
back. Like I said, maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks. I've been sitting
Cool.
on it for a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm
Okay,
sort
nice.
of waiting for
Yeah.
We'll talk. We'll communicate
Good
about.
deal.
Yeah,
deal.
we could time it. And then I have this album that's been out for a couple of years, but I'm really proud of it. It's an album called It's called The End of Time, and it's a progressive rock album, concept album. Kind of takes you through the ups and downs, the hope and misery of life, the very introspective kind of thing, and more serious than Cicada Madness. So
I don't know. Cicada Madness.
Yeah,
Cicada.
Cicada.
Like the bug, right?
Yeah.
Bug,
the bug,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Those little cicadas. They go.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty serious.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty serious.
So is it a little bit of humor to it?
In what, the cicada?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all humor.
Oh, okay.
awesome.
So
That one's all
really
humor.
cool.
The
Okay.
End of Time is.
I like
one.
fun, scary. I don't like
Yeah.
No, it's fun, scary.
Okay,
It's not.
It's just Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
Just,
It's not
sure.
serious,
Yeah.
scary. Like
Was-
it's clearly.
It's like I'm not gonna want to go camping anymore.
ADHD coming in. Did Rob Zombie do Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Was that him?
I believe he did a remake of it.
I haven't heard Rob Zombie in the longest time until this morning. What is that? It's one of
Dragula. You're thinking of?
yeah.
Dragula.
Yeah, it came on. It came on. I have YouTube Music now, so I'm just like going, and I'm just like going through songs, and it came on. I'm like, I haven't heard Rob Zombie in forever, and then I remembered just being terrified of Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I went to Jack Ellis's house, and he put it on. And I was not ready for that. That was like the first scary movie I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
I didn't even dabble in like Friday the 13th. Like I was not about it. And then
I'm
just, like,
still not.
throw me right into that.
I think he did he do a Halloween also?
Yep, he did a Halloween.
That was also
And
like
he did
pretty
House
scary.
of Wax. That was another one. Paris Hilton was in that, I think.
I got thinking about
Wax,
how
yeah.
interesting it was for like, his style of music is so intense and it's almost a little scary. So it's like he has this deep sense of, like his art revolves around
Horror,
like fear and
Yeah.
horror and the scary aspects.
Seems like
of things.
Ozzy
So,
Osbourne was into that stuff.
yeah, but what a
Yep.
perfect profession
Alice
for him.
Cooper has some
Alice
of that.
Cooper.
Although he's a little campy.
But think about
Yeah.
his shows. Like his short shows are very, very. It's horror. It's what
Yeah.
it is.
There were these, I can't remember the names of them, but there were these crazy bands that they were. Somebody's brother was getting interviewed, and he had this crazy band like from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, which was like this really aggressive, like violent rock. Where like they would fight each other, like that was the norm.
Oh my God.
Like beating the shit out of like the fans and like getting like in full on like fights and fighting each other on stage. It was just really wild. And it kind of makes me think of that, how there's these weird I don't want to call them weird, but there's these different pockets of rock, and music that's really underground. I don't know if it was like biker rock in a way, but it kind of reminded me of this like a really hardcore Motley Crue. Like
Hardcore Motley Crue.
even more intense and aggressive and violent, just like really wild.
Less lipstick.
Less lipstick, probably. It was just like blood.
Just blood.
Yeah. I wish I could remember this guy's name and the name of the band was something crazy too.
Death Fist.
Yeah. Punch you in the face.
I went through a metal phase. I went through a phase where I listened to a bunch of metal. There's a Machine Head, Lamb of God, those kinds of things.
When I worked construction, I listened to a ton of Disturbed.
Disturbed,
Yeah.
Disturbed's great, man.
Yeah.
Well, they're that record, the first one was
Is
the
that
first
the
one they did.
1,000
Was that the one where you
Fist?
just got this?
Not that one. It was the one. It was before that one. The one that has a Down with the Sickness on it.
Yes.
Uh,
I can't
Might have
think
been
of the name of that one.
self-titled even. Who knows? They're from Chicago, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
That vocalist has awesome range.
Oh man.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And he was like the first one to do all that weird. Wah! Like
Yeah.
no one had done that before.
Yeah. Yeah, that was iconic.
Yeah.
Him and I listened to a lot of System of a Down.
He's
He also
what's
Surge.
that guy's name? Surge. Yeah.
Surge.
Yeah.
He's
something
ridiculous.
with a
Yeah.
T something. Yeah. He had crazy. He would like be singing and then just get just like.
Yeah. Rick Rubin has a great story about System of a Down.
Yeah.
The way that he discovered them, he went to see them in Los Angeles, one of the venues there on the Strip, and he said he thought they were so funny. he thought they were hilarious to watch, and that's what got him interested in working with them, because he had never seen anything so funny like that.
That is, they do have a funny look. The guy has like the beard with the long.
It's like a polka sometimes.
They do have have a fun energy about them.
Yeah,
I heard him telling a story about when they were writing Chop Suey, and he couldn't figure out words for the bridge, so Rick Rubin just told him, just grab one of the books from the shelf and open it up and go there, and those are the words that you're gonna use.
Love that.
And that's what he did.
Then you surrender yourself to the randomness, to the outcome.
Yeah.
You kind of impose limitations on yourself.
It's like when you go to send a text, you just hit the 3 little bars up at the top where they just like
just let it make
suggested next words. Just
keep hitting the middle one.
That bugs me though.
The cat walked down to get the mail, and then Johnny said hi.
That's a little AI. That's a little too much AI for you.
Because you know what that's.
That's what he did though. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
same thing.
That's the start.
It just happens to have a screen.
It's the start of getting people to think a certain way, getting people to say things in a certain way, and I'm not into that. It's like it feels like it's the beginnings of it. I don't know, maybe it's conspiracy theory, but after reading like Brave New World, I'm just like, these are some red flags for sure. I don't need a computer to suggest what I should say, because where's the next step? Are they going to suggest an entire sentence for me to say? I find that a little strange.
That's a good point. It is the start. Yeah, and it can definitely go off the rails.
I don't know. I don't want to think anymore.
Too much thinking.
Just let the computer do it.
We got heady. We got a little heady on this episode.
Yeah, we did.
I do.
This
I like
was awesome.
that.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
This was a great one.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to plug?
Just like reach out to me for your drumming needs.
Yeah. What's your social medias and
it's Who Is Fish IG. Just message me there. Give me a follow.
You have a website?
Whoisfish.com. Yep. You can
Perfect.
find me there. And I want to say that, really, in addition to your drumming needs, I'm also embarking on a new thing where I want to be a consultant, like not really consultant, but more of a like mindset coach for bands, for any local groups that feel stuck or feel like they're not really getting what they want, or they're not sure what they need to do next. I'm offering services to sit down with bands and provide help them reach clarity as to what they want to do, what they need to do to get there. We talked about setting up systems for yourself. I maybe management in some way, but management, being a manager is kind of a dirty word. It's like a dirty word now.
It's a bad word. So stick to the Rick Rubin stuff.
So I like the mindset coach. I feel a lot of bands would benefit from it. I feel a lot of bands don't know that they need it. Some bands are just like, we're just gonna see what happens, and we're just gonna keep doing the same thing we've always been doing, and you're gonna get the same results doing that. So through my experiences, just touring experiences and performing experiences, I've seen a lot of shit. I used to be in a band that was had a corporate structure to it, where I got paid the same amount every month, regardless of how many shows we had. I had a salary, which is kind of rare for bands, So having those experiences, I have a better understanding, and I feel I have a lot to offer to groups that want, if they really want to do it and they need some clarity, to reach out to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really awesome. And no, thank you for mentioning that. We'll definitely, because I agree with you, and I think that's something that this area can definitely use is getting some of that mentoring.
Yeah, mentorship. You could say exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, awesome. I guess we'll wrap it up from there. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're still there, I hope you're still there. The philosophical people will still be here.
Right.
Yeah,
they'll still be here.
They just pull out the exciting clips, and then
right. If you just
we'll drag them in. We'll drag them in
to the end here.
Well, all right, guys. Please,
seeing this part.
subscribe, do all the stuff that helps us out, and then follow us on Instagram at ourfriend607. Check out our bio. We got merch and stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, Fish.
Yeah.
Thank you so
man.
much.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Oh.